Having high testosterone, would you say it's tied to your guys' ego?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Ha! I don't know, you got pretty f***ing defensive. You got pretty defensive about it. I think it absolutely is for a lot of people. There's like literally a whole industry, the manosphere, dedicated to calling people who are less masculine, who are soy boys, as being low T beta males, low testosterone beta males. It's an entire f***ing segment of the male population that heavily believes that your testosterone levels are very important when they are. And because of that, you want to have more testosterone. You want to be seen as having more testosterone. You want to say you have more testosterone because of assumptions you've made, not because of tests that you've run, you know, blood tests. Because like I say, I think most people haven't gotten their testosterone levels checked, much like most people haven't gotten their chromosomes checked. These are just assumptions we have. So as you all know, I am a trans-masculine person. I've been taking testosterone for a while to masculinize elements of myself while still trying to remain pretty feminine. You know, I'm AFAB, I was assigned female at birth, and then, you know, I'm trans-masc, and I'm a bit, you know, of a tomboy, kind of a femboy sometimes, do a bunch of stuff in that periphery. And I figured, you know, why not rank a bunch of men by testosterone? Because, you know, I've always been fair, so I'm not actually trans-masc, or am I? You don't know. My whole life I've been more feminine, even though I'm AMAB, allegedly. And I always thought that that was because I was like low testosterone, low T beta male, soy cuck, whatever, right? Because I never got my testosterone levels checked. I never got my estrogen levels checked when I was younger. The first time I did was actually right before I was trying to get on feminizing HRT. I thought I was, you know, on the low T side of things, but apparently not so. But I won't reveal what I was at until the end of this video, or at least until, you know, it's revealed here. I haven't seen the video yet, obviously, but I assume we're going to start with they're going to rank themselves in order of who they think is having the most testosterone, who's going to have the less. And a lot of that is going to be because of a variety of characteristics that people associate with people with testosterone, which would be body hair, facial hair, deeper voices, probably going to do the same for taller men as well, even though I don't think there's much of a factor at play there. Maybe they're going to like cup each other's balls and see how heavy they are and see if that has an influence. Because, you know, we all know that testosterone is stored in the balls, so the more of it you have, the heavier the... Anyway, so it seems like it could be a little fun. I don't know, it seems like a fun little meme. We'll see what's up. And I will be doing the same. So I guess I'm going to do that as well. Whenever we do these kinds of Jubilee ranking videos, I always literal face value rank the people. We've done this for men's fashion, I think, in the past, women's fashion, manliness, all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to do that again. Because I think it's fun to just, like, completely face value, judge a book by the cover, and see how accurate or inaccurate I might be toward the end of it. So if we're ranking people by testosterone, you're usually going to pick people that look more masculine, right? Because, like, you can have somebody, like, with the most testosterone ever, but if they regularly shave their body hair and facial hair, if they even potentially do feminine vocal training, or they have, like, a gay voice, even though it's a bit deeper, there's a lot of ways that you can make yourself not appear masculine, even though you have a lot of testosterone, right? Trans femmes kind of know a lot about this, not to say that they have a lot of testosterone, because, like, the standard range is usually where people are going to fall, which is why it's called the standard range. So, like, it's literally impossible to tell a lot of the time, because, like, you could also have a cis woman who just happens to be a butch lesbian or something, and she's on testosterone because she wants to be more masculine in her presentation, but, like, she still identifies as a woman, she's still a cis woman, right? That is possible, and that person could be very masculine looking. Now, they might not look, depending on their genetics, as masculine as, like, fucking bodybuilder. Well, I guess bodybuilder dudes are kind of masc femme in that they never have body hair. And also, they usually don't wear the most masculine clothing. They're usually kind of flamboyant because you got to show off the muscle. Maybe that's not the best example. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so let's see. Who I think has the highest testosterone to lowest. So if we're going to go off of, like, stereotypes, I feel like this guy is going to be at the low end, right? Reason being, he looks like not as built muscularly, but that doesn't really matter because, like, if you don't work out but you have high testosterone, like, it doesn't automatically make you have big musculature, right? Like, you have to put an effort for that. But, like, that's the immediate get because of, like, the hair and the clothing seems to be a lower T individual. But that doesn't have to be the case, obviously. When it comes to highest T, for some reason, this guy jumps out at me. for highest T. And the reason being that he looks like a dad, right? He's got the mustache with like a bit of a fade for his haircut, but it's like pretty tame. And he's like a bit wider. So that's my pick. Next up. So I think what a lot of people would say is that this person is probably on the lower T side of things. I think, by the way, I think what will be revealed to us is that they all are in the standard range of testosterone, and it's all just a big meme. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Because, like, to have really high or really low testosterone is kind of anomalous to the general population of people having testosterone. Unless, like, they're juicing. So, like, people will think that this person is going to have the lower T because he's shorter and whatnot. Also, like, wearing skinny jeans, it makes you look a bit more feminine. Like, that's, like, the vibe you get. But, it's impossible to say. But I guess I would put him toward the middle. Actually, does working out increase your T? I'm actually not sure. I know having testosterone makes your muscles repair faster, so it's better for working out and muscle retention and gain. I know that's the big meme for it. But I'm not sure about... I think there have been activities linked to an increase in testosterone, like chopping wood, which is a form of exercise. So maybe. But I think it's just going to be... There's 6 of them. We're going 6, and this is 1. I'm going to put this person at 3. Wait. I'm going to say 3... 4. I'm putting out a wild card. I think this guy's the 4th, and then 5. Because, like, this guy is, like, big-ish. Like, compared to the rest of the people here. This guy's the biggest, and then this guy. But I think looks can be deceiving in this. So let's see. That's my pick.
I'll kind of help my case a little bit.
Just take it off the shirt.
I think this would do it. Okay, bro.
Oh, God.
Hey, but
That's the thing, though. It doesn't mean a whole lot. The amount of muscle you have does not directly correlate to the amount of testosterone you have. Of course, having a lot of testosterone would make your muscles repair faster, and it is a benefit, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
I can match the legs, too. Oh, man. There it is.
I'm not even gonna try. I'm not.
Sorry, that was loud as shit, my bad. Alpha male, noun. The dominant male animal in a particular group. Also, a debunked meme that studied captive wolves. And the guy who actually did that study has come out against its use for trying to apply it to men in the Homo sapiens species, actually. It turns out if you analyze wild wolves that are not in captivity, they don't display a lot of the traits that have now been commonly associated with alpha male memes when it comes to humans. Turns out that's just because the wolves were captive. And if you're an alpha male in America, you're kind of saying that you're held captive by something, probably your own insecurity. And I say in America, in the human species, you're held captive probably by your own insecurity. Because it's not actually how that works. A man tending to assume a dominant or domineering role in social or professional situations. The dank meme.
You know what? Let's go.
We'll rank the guys who took off their shirts. Yeah. They're secure enough. You do have a great physique, though, man.
No, I appreciate it,
Straight
man.
Captain America machine.
You know, if we're going based off...
I don't know. This dude is very pretty in, like, facial shape and facial dimensions. It's a bit fruity. Now, it's not to say that there can't be, like, gay people or queer people in this, right? It would actually be really interesting if they had a trans mask person in there. I think that would be really interesting. I don't know, like, if we'll find out that there is. But that would be interesting to me, because trans mask people obviously supplement their testosterone through injection. So they're going to know the most about what their testosterone is, because they have to regularly get it checked. Like, you know, trans femme people have to do with their estrogen and testosterone levels as well. I don't know. People watching this video will know, but if you happen to stumble across this, you know nothing about being trans, essentially what you do, if you're a trans feminine, you are trying to suppress your testosterone to a certain point. I think it's below, like, 50 pgml or some shit like that. And you're trying to get your estrogen around 100, 150 or something like that. I'm ballparking. And essentially, I imagine the inverse is true for transmasculine people who supplement testosterone and suppress estrogen production. Something like that. That's the vibe. So essentially, your body, because of your biological sex or whatever, is producing testosterone or estrogen. And you're trying to suppress what it's naturally producing and supplement it with testosterone or estrogen while either taking blockers for the other one or taking enough of, say, estrogen or testosterone that it blocks what your body would be producing. That's the vibe. So, like, people on TRT, older men on TRT, or menopausal women on, what would it be called, ERT? estrogen replacement therapy and testosterone replacement therapy. So Joe Rogan is on this, for instance, where he's talked about how it's been really helpful because as you get older, as a man, woman, whatever, you start to lose testosterone or estrogen that your body is normally producing. It just produces less. And there are a lot of negative consequences for that for a lot of people when it comes to how they want to look in society, how they want to present in society, the activities they want to do. It can certainly become harder to exercise when you're older because you're losing a lot of that and other stuff like that. A lot of it is also aesthetics as well. So people will supplement what they're losing, what their body can't produce anymore, with testosterone or estrogen. I think testosterone is literally only injectable because there hasn't been another way to take it that's been found. And estrogen you can take in a variety of ways. The most popular being sublingual tablets that you put under the tongue that dissolve, and injections for estrogen as well. But you can also do patches that are transdermal that you put on your skin. You can do pills as well, which are just not the best. They're not as effective as like sublingual tablets or injections. But yeah, that's the vibe. So somebody who's transmasculine in this lineup would be having a fair amount of testosterone and also knowing it going into this, which might actually introduce an interesting dynamic in this like show, I guess, but could also be an unfair advantage potentially because they would know what their testosterone is because you have to get it checked to know, to make sure that your dosages are good and all this kind of shit. And I say all this to say that I don't think a lot of these dudes know what their testosterone level is because not a lot of people get it tested. It's usually pretty rare that people will go out and get blood drawn and have their levels tested because why would you do that? The only time you're really going to do that is if you have a medical concern, like your body seems to be producing a lot less than it should for whatever reason, or you're trans, and obviously from everything I've just said, you know, you got to pay attention to it because of that, or you're an aging person, postmenopausal if you're a woman, or you're just an older man who's losing a lot of testosterone. At that point, you'll get it checked and you'll see what's up. Also, knowing if you have really high estrogen when it comes to being somebody with estrogen is good for risks associated with osteoporosis or breast cancer and stuff like that. Because the higher those go, the more likely those things are to occur. And also, blood clots in the legs and stuff like that can also happen with high estrogen. I'm sure there are also concerns with testosterone that I'm not as familiar with because I'm not transmasc. I mean, I am transmasc, but I'm also... Anyway, I'm pretty sure nobody here knows what their chromosomes are. Nobody here probably gets their testosterone levels checked. Reason being because why would anybody other than those medical concerns? So the idea that a lot of men are like, oh, this person is obviously a low-T soy boy beta male because they're not built and super hairy. And like, obviously, I am a high-T alpha male because, you know, I've got all these muscles and I've got a lot of body hair. Like, that doesn't actually correlate. That's just an assumption you're making. And it doesn't necessarily work one-to-one like that.
I think we should probably move up a little bit. You know, bigger the better, right?
They got the muscle.
I mean, he has a crazy beard.
The beard,
That's a lot of testosterone.
That's the
I can't
beard,
match
though,
that.
yeah.
But I got better hair, though. I think that
You guys run at each other like full speed. I think he's taking you out. So I think he goes number one.
you can stay up there.
That's how
I
you
think I
test
should
it.
move.
If you run at each other full speed, whoever becomes a cloud of red mist has the lower testosterone, and whoever survives has the more testosterone. That's how they used to do testosterone levels before you could do blood tests back in the day.
Move up.
Go ahead. I think you should at least be above
He
him.
needs to move up.
Testosterone is a sex hormone that plays important roles in the body. In men, it's thought to regulate sex drive, libido, bone mass, fat distribution, muscle mass, and strength, and the production of red blood cells and sperm. Makes sense.
It's the beard,
Yeah,
bro.
you gotta move up.
Come on, don't be
Please,
modest.
Come
Let's
on.
go.
All right, I appreciate it.
I still think I switch.
Let's do it.
Can you guys do like the wave with your pecs?
Oh wow, that's a different.
Nah, I don't think I
Nah,
can.
a little. I know you're
All right, I'm
going.
gonna
That's
teach
how
you
you
guys
know.
something. You want to see that?
All right, Arnold. I see you.
Then I can obviously make it bounce and
Okay,
carry
okay.
through.
Oh, I'm hiding it, baby.
Those fucking slutty ass men. Who knows how to do that unless you are just the biggest slut? Respect.
Hiding. I ain't taking this on.
I'm not good with this.
Okay, no.
If we want to go by height, I will switch with you. But you do have a mustache.
Put me down.
And look at and listen to his voice too. Like the immediate assumption of this person, higher pitched voice, less testosterone. However, Exhibit B, I'm told I have a pretty low voice, and I'm told it's shocking to most people when they first meet me. So looks can be deceiving, apparently.
Okay.
I will put you down.
You're younger. You might have
But
more.
he also has
I'm like
facial
young.
hair,
I'm up
too.
and
It's just
coming.
double. He shaved. So like.
I do shave. Yeah, I do shave.
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna bulk up after this?
Fucking gay
No,
ass
I like being
motherfucker.
skinny. Yeah.
Fucking fruity ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
What we got out of this is that if you have muscles, a beard, and height,
And luscious hair, no.
and luscious hair, that is what gets you testosterone.
That's actually contradictory, I think. people that have really high T tend to suffer from male pattern baldness earlier, is my understanding. And the reason why male pattern baldness is a thing is because males typically have more testosterone than estrogen, which leads their hairline to recede in that pattern, right? Also, it's a lot of genetics, but that's the general concept around why men tend to lose hair around here first. And obviously that can happen at various points in a person's life, depending on genetics and whatnot. So having a lot of hair, I feel like would be less masculine, at least in the stereotype and the assumption, right? Male pattern baldness is actually caused by DHT, not testosterone. Really? Interesting.
I think we're good.
We're on this.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The men will now rearrange themselves how they discuss physical fitness, sex drive, emotions, and what it means to be an alpha male. So they buried the lead a bit here. Like all this alpha male shit came up, but like none of it was teased. I guess it's expected, but the focus that's been put on it is what's unexpected to me and kind of annoying. Because like I say, alpha male shit is stupid bullshit. It's like horoscopes for men. It doesn't actually happen. That's not how that works. Now, of course, there are going to be people who like to be in more dominant roles and perform well in more dominant roles in a variety of interpersonal engagements, but there's nothing inherent to a person that causes them to do that, right? Like, women tend to have very dominant roles, at least in our society, in the home, right? Being the mother, caring for all the children, making all the food, all this stereotype for what a mom is supposed to do and what women are supposed to do, which is obviously not true. Women can do whatever the fuck they want. But that's the expectation, that's the stereotype in our society, and that's a very dominant role. Are you joking? Having to make sure the food's ready, having to make sure all the kids are in order, all their affairs are in order, having to make sure the house is clean, essentially being the matriarch of the household is a very dominant role. There's no reason why that person can't translate those skills into another role where they are also dominant, like being in management in a firm or in interpersonal relationships with their partner. There's no reason why that can't be the case. And you don't have to have kids, obviously, for that to be the case either, because there are a fair amount of women out there who enjoy being dominant. It's just that our society has pushed them to be submissive. Girls are taught at a very young age, and it's very fucking weird, and a lot of this has a heavy overlap with religious people. Girls are taught to be submissive at a very early age, and it's very fucking strange. To not talk out of turn, to not be assertive, to always genuflect to a man and respect men. It's very fucking weird. It happens a lot in conservative households, in religious households, and it should stop. But essentially, girls are molded to be wives into the future. There's even like purity balls or whatever that happened in like Christianity or Catholicism. I don't know which one it was. It's very, very, very strange. And that's what people, usually men who are in the positions of power in our society to make these cultural shifts happen or enforce them, have, essentially made women out to be. And that's influenced the stereotypes that go along with women. And there's no actual, link in the biology of these people that causes those roles to happen. They're just socially constructed and forced onto people, because people will see negative repercussions in their lives if they go around them, if they contradict them, which we see with trans people all the time, right? Men are supposed to be these dominant, hyper-masculine people, but as soon as they, find out, oh, that man actually identifies as a woman and wants to take estrogen and wants to, wear makeup and all his feminine dress and whatnot, suddenly that's a problem for society. Turns out when a cis woman wants to be in a position of power, turns out that tends to be a negative factor in society. There's all these different things that are not biologically essential to us as a species that we've just invented socially and constructed socially that people are subject to, which then influences what people think is normal, even though it's not natural, Even if you go back into the history of hunter-gatherer societies, it is not the case, and it is actually a misconception that a variety of hunter-gatherer societies had the women stay home and the men go out and hunt. Sure, women would often stay home to take care of kids, but there are cultures where men do that as well. But of course, if a woman or a person who has the capacity to give birth is giving birth, then obviously that's very physically taxing. They have to rest and whatnot, and essentially be at home during that time period. But not all people who can give birth end up giving birth. Not all of them want to. Not all of them can if they are infertile. And because of that, these other roles that they can take up, going out and hunting, for instance, they'll end up doing. Because why not? You need an extra pair of hands out there. This person is perfectly capable. Why not? especially with how active of hunter-gatherer society was. You would imagine that all of the humans there were probably a bit more physically fit than humans of the modern day. And this is the same for a variety of animal species as well. You know, the common one is lions. The lionesses are often the ones that go out and hunt, where the lions stay home. The males stay home, and the females go out and hunt. So the idea that these things are intrinsic to biological sex or gender identity is very foolish and naive.
I think we should talk about lifestyle. What's the lifestyle daily routine looking like?
So I wake up 5 in the morning.
I wake up 5 in the morning, I jerk off 10 times, then I work out. That's part of my workout, but I work out as well. And then I take a shower, jerk off another 7 times.
And gotta take care of your body first, because your body's a temple. Then after that, we go into like the whole entire aspect of diet. We ain't doing no donuts.
No donuts, no soy, no soylent, no seed oils. We're just straight up eating bull testicles, and that's it.
Doing none of that. We're
No
doing...
cheesecake?
Oh, absolutely not, brother. Absolutely not.
Say you're beta if you eat cheesecake.
Evidently
I'm not
so.
saying it. You know,
Suppose I like
Fellas, is it gay to enjoy delectable baked goods? It's a bit fruity, you know, apparently. You know, back in the day, it used to be the case that being fat was a sign of wealth. Back in the days of, like, feudal society, the only people who could eat enough and had access to enough food to get fat, and also didn't do as much manual labor and exercise to lose those calories, were the wealthy, were the kings and queens. And often those people would end up getting fatter because they have the ability to eat more and exercise less because they have other people do the work for them. And they have, you know, control of all of the resources in that feudal system. So it used to be the case that being fat was actually a sign of royalty, a sign of privilege, a sign of higher socioeconomic status and class status. But now, not so much. Now it's kind of actually the opposite. And that's where a lot of the imagery of, like, the wealthiest people in our society being fat, not only because, you know, obviously there's a lot of fat phobia with that, but also because of, like, them being greedy, them hogging all the food and not giving any to anybody else, which is why they get fatter. I think that's where a lot of that comes from, a lot of that anti-capitalist imagery, being a bunch of fat cats, quote unquote, in control of everything, the capitalists, yada, yada, yada. I think where that's a lot of that comes from. But nowadays it seems like, oh, if you end up going and getting fat in our society nowadays, well, that is seemingly a sign of lower class or lower socioeconomic status, which is obviously not the case, because there are plenty of fat and skinny people at all levels of socioeconomic status. But because of the way that our society is now constructed and how much cheaper bad food is for you and how much more expensive healthier food is for you, also because of the way our infrastructure is set up, where a variety of places will have food deserts where you can only really get fast food and all this other kind of shit. And because people are working so many hours, have to care for their kids and juggle all these different responsibilities, they have less time to make their own meals, which tend to be healthier. You end up eating a bunch of frozen meals and quick meals and fast food, and then eventually you just end up getting more and more weight on you. And it also becomes less easy to exercise, especially if you have, like, an office job or a job where you don't walk around, lift things all the time. It becomes a lot more difficult to actually put in the time to exercise. Why would you give a fuck about maintaining your diet and making sure you pay attention to your macros if you're working 40, 60 hours a week just to keep lights on? Like, who has the time for this shit, right? So now it's kind of the opposite, where you'll have people like Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, who use a lot of their spare time that they have and a lot of their money they have to hire dietitians and personal trainers and have home gyms and all this kind of stuff. They're now very into physical fitness, into getting physically fit. Not only that, but because rich people don't want to die, they're some of the most afraid people of death, which is why they've constantly been trying to find ways to stay alive, like Peter Thiel, for instance, that degenerate who has a blood boy, a younger boy that he regularly takes blood donations from and injects into his own body in an attempt to keep him younger. Some crazy shit going on out there. Who just happens to be a far-right funder of demagogues. Literal vampire lich shit. Obviously, like, trying to be healthier is going to be an attempt to extend your lifespan as well. Anyway, so that's also a difference now. And obviously, a lot of this is somewhat tangential, though not really. So if you think about what makes a masculine man, well, in this video, we're talking about physical fitness, we're talking about daily routines, we're talking about diet and all this kind of stuff. And that's because we're in modern day, current year of our Lord 2023. If you went back in time, well, you would expect some of the most masculine icons, the depictions of so-called alpha males, the people in charge of everything, were actually the feudal lords, were the kings. And those people tended to be less physically fit because of what I mentioned before about what their wealth and the lifestyles that allowed them to live compared to the serfs and the servants who did not have as many resources or extra time and had to do all the manual labor and all this kind of stuff. So back then, it might have been seen as more masculine to be fatter, right? That's what I'm trying to get at here, is what I'm trying to explain. A lot of these assumptions are not tied to the amount of testosterone a person has, but rather the societal expectations for people who happen to have testosterone, which is usually men. Or I should say more testosterone than estrogen, because everybody has both. It's just that, you know, males and men tend to have more testosterone than estrogen, and women tend to be the inverse. But not always, of course.
Oh, man, don't get me wrong.
My T level's going down.
I love some donuts, but I don't know.
We can have one day. I worked 3
Yeah,
weeks
The
hard.
Rock does it, so I think that's just...
Yeah, look at him, yeah.
I want to move away from like this like physical aspect, like the working out and stuff. I think
Of
we
course
should move
you
away.
do, fucking string bean. Fucking Flat Stanley over here wants to move away from the physical fitness. And what, of course, why not? Let's move away from it. Fair enough.
From that, you know, I think there's like personality that comes into it. Anybody here like have stocks and bonds? 'Cause I feel like-
And there's the finance. There's the finance. Because in the modern day, it is still actually seen as a masculine thing to make a lot of money, to be wealthy, to be the breadwinner, to provide for the family or your partner or whatever, or yourself, right? That's what's seen as masculine. Well, that was feudal lords and kings back in the day, back in feudal society, and those motherfuckers were fat. So I don't know how much of this physical fitness shit actually matters. Turns out you can be Flat Stanley and potentially have a lot of testosterone, but because you're not doing a lot of exercise, or if you're not eating in ways that would be beneficial to it, and then yada, 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 you shave and whatnot, turns out you could still have high T. We don't know. We'll find out later when they do the blood test thing. But, like, you don't know. But maybe this is all cope, you know? For the rich people out there who are low T beta males that try to make a lot of money as a way to look like they have a lot of T, you know, but they don't actually. Finance sells. Who knows?
That's pretty like, investment is pretty alpha, I would say.
We own houses, we got stocks and bonds, got all that type of stuff, because I always say, like, if your finances aren't right, you ain't right. Especially if you got a family, if you got a girlfriend or whatever, your girl can't even trust you with the finances. So how are you really an alpha? You're not.
Yeah, well, I'm 19 right now, so, but I have stocks and bonds. I made 10 grand, I put it
Fucking
in bonds
dork.
like immediately the day I turned 18, because then I want to be like old like you guys, and I have to be like doing like...
Ha! That's funny. You made 10 grand. How much would that be on an hourly age? So, like, I started working at a day job when I was in my junior year of high school, which is like 16-ish. And I worked until then, until like 5 or 6 years ago when I got lucky enough to do live streaming. So I got a job early. And theoretically, I didn't have a lot of bills at the time because I was still living with my mom. I was still going to school. And I did save a fair amount of money, and I still have a lot of that money I saved. But I also, you know, spent a little bit frivolously when I could because, you know, I'm a kid. If I want to buy some fucking overpriced cardboard in the form of Magic the Gathering cards or Steam games, you know, sue me, all right? Put me in jail, throw away the key. So, like, I'm curious how you would come across making this 10K. Because there are a lot of poor-ass motherfuckers out there that probably have really high testosterone, but they're still poor. Like, having high T doesn't make you have more money. It doesn't make it easy for you to get more money either. Maybe if you're a porn star and you're doing gay porn and being built and muscular is a big selling point to the kind of gay porn you're making, maybe then it's very important for your finances. But most of the time, for most people, unless your job literally directly requires you to be physically fit, like you're doing manual labor, or you have to look good for like modeling or whatever, there's no reason why your physical fitness should have to correlate to the amount of testosterone you have or how alpha you are.
You guys are all like 40, right?
No!
Feels like it
Black don't
sometimes,
crack.
man.
Black don't crack.
That's true.
Like they're all ancient, like old. I like felt like these were all like my old uncles. Like it was actually horrible. I felt like I wasn't allowed to say like anything on my mind, or I was gonna get reprimanded. They're gonna tell my mom or something. It was crazy.
He's a sneaky one.
Me?
I low-key think
That's
he
funny.
has a... He's probably just swimming in the tea.
And he's young, too.
He's swimming in the tea.
Oh, it's working. The gambit is working. Flat Stanley's putting the moves on him. We haven't heard much from the father figure here. We haven't heard much from LOL Overruled or YOLO Swag Studios over here. So I'm curious about that. We also haven't heard much from this person.
I'm a young
That's what I'm
buck,
saying, bro.
He's young too.
He's swimming in the tea.
think so?
Come on, bro.
You want me to sit next to you?
I think he's swimming in the tea, though.
You want me to be? I'm just saying, like, statistically, when you're 19, like
that's
20,
what I'm
that's when it's
saying.
popping. That's when it's
That's the
popping.
thing,
Do you vape?
No, dude.
Oh, okay.
What does everyone do for a living?
I was in the military and then.
Oh,
now I'm a
suddenly,
personal trainer.
suddenly, military personal trainer. Oh, that's a lot of tea, obviously. Yeah, Eddie Burback over here. That's a lot of testosterone, obviously, because that's how that works. Because your hormone levels directly influence the trajectory of your life and the career path you're gonna take. It's horoscopes for men.
Trainer at a gym.
I started a private equity firm that builds and scales automotive shops.
I'm a bounty hunter.
I'm an active by day, podcaster by night, but I also work at
Bounty hunter. He looks like the kind of guy, like the JROTC wants to be a cop kind of guy. I smell it on him.
too.
I'm a dental assistant, just like at a.
Fucking soy ass occupation in our society. Like, what are you? Are you a nurse at a dentist's office? Soy boy? Come on. Shouldn't you be out shoveling shit?
I think we know. We bodybuild.
I would say off profession, I would say 100% bounty hunter has to be
yeah.
up there. Well, no, and also I would definitely rank you up there as well. for
Military.
activity levels and all that stuff. Because you have to motivate people.
I don't
and
wanna
all that
derail
stuff.
Meanwhile, some of the most soy motherfuckers end up going into the military because they think it'll toughen them up. It's kind of like a meme. Toxic dads will send their sons to boot camp because they're not manly enough or whatever. Some of the people with the least amount of chin possible, where the helmet doesn't even stay on because the strap can't grab a good hold, end up going into the military. What does profession have to do with T levels? It's just assumptions and stereotypes that people are operating off of. And that's the point of what we're doing here, too. I've never said that Jubilee is like the apex of social experiments or whatever. This is all just essentially garbage media, and I'm trying to turn it into more than that, obviously. I don't mean that to be disrespectful to what Jubilee does. It's just pretty bottom of the barrel media. It's kind of what they do. And it's a successful strategy. They do pretty well. But I think that's also part of the point, because it says assumptions versus blood tests. So baked into this idea is that we're going to be making a lot of assumptions off of stereotypes.
Oh, that's whatever.
I mean, you're young, bro.
I'll go back up. It's fine. I'll move back up.
To be honest, the way I would actually.
I'm very excited for this dude to have the least testosterone of everybody. That might not actually be true, because if you're taking more testosterone, if you're juicing to get bigger, which, respect, be safe, but I don't give a shit, that would probably put you higher than average. So maybe not. But I feel like you would have to disclose that. You would have to disclose that in this kind of scenario.
I would put you probably number 2 or 1.
Let's put him one.
And then
I'm fine with that.
I'm hiding, yeah.
And he's
yeah.
acting too.
I'm
like,
tall
calm,
too.
cool,
I'm
collective
tall.
about
You know, I
it.
didn't even
So
take
I'm
my
like,
shirt off yet. Like what? I don't even need to do that.
He's confident about
I'm
it,
up
whatever his
and
number
coming.
is.
I'm up and coming. You put me number 1. That's fine. I'll do that. I think it'll look good.
Don't try it out.
Yeah, I'll try it out.
He's
Alright,
so fucking gay, dude. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's what he's going for. This dude is fruity. I'm sorry. I'm not hating. I'm just saying. Like, cause like he's like, oh, I'm into finance. You know, that's pretty alpha. He's kind of like bigging up himself about a variety of this shit. Partially because he's looked at in the group as the least masculine. So I can understand that, like insecurity there and all that. Probably you go through this shit in your day-to-day life too. Because every person who is assumed to be male does. Like I did. And it used to bother me when I was younger. The fact that I'm shorter, the fact that I'm not having as much body hair and all this kind of stuff. Luckily, my voice does carry me and had carried me at the time. Also facial structure. But aside from those things, like being shorter or having a higher pitched voice like that person does, or an airier voice like that, being skinnier and whatnot does make you seem less masculine. Now, of course, he's taller, so he's got that going for him. So I lost on that and gained the voice. But those kinds of things, you deal with those negative repercussions in society that don't need to exist. And frankly, feminists are trying to make not exist anymore, much to the chagrin of a variety of so-called alpha males. Not to say anything about the people in this crowd, because I don't know anything about their political leanings. We haven't gotten into that. But a lot of people in the so-called alpha male crowd are really anti-feminist, even though part of feminism is literally trying to make it so that these gendered expectations don't exist for anybody, right? So women, in the case of women's rights, aren't expected to be submissive, aren't expected to not be in positions of power, aren't expected to not have to have a child or have a family or get married to a husband, are allowed to be gay, be lesbians, right? All of those expectations we're trying to break down so that women can be whatever they want. And built into that, that's also trying to happen when it comes to men. a lot of feminists often talk about when asked about, well, how can we make things better for men? Or how can we make men be better people to women? And a lot of that ends up targeting, oh, well, we need to break down a lot of these male stereotypes that end up becoming toxic through a variety of lived experience of these people, of, you know, parents teaching badly, broader society getting into alpha male shit, where a lot of it is self-destructive. A lot of it is really bad for your mental health. So, like, feminism is literally trying to undo that as well so that everybody has equality when it comes to their gender identity and how that, you know, relates to their biological sex. Also, a lot of these alpha males tend to be really transphobic. Not the people in the video. I don't know anything about them yet. But a lot of alpha male, quote-unquote, people or people that fall into the manosphere end up being transphobic, and a lot of that is born out of homophobia. Because being gay as a cis man, you could be like a fucking bodybuilder, lumberjack, hairy motherfucker, and be gay, and for some reason that makes you less masculine. Even though there are cisgender homosexual men out there that are more masculine looking than every dude on this panel that just happen to like dick. And for some reason that makes people look at them as less masculine, which is foolish. If you actually investigate any further into that person, it is foolish. But being gay is seen as feminine. It's not seen as masculine. Being attracted to men is not seen as masculine. It's seen as feminine. So a lot of them end up being homophobic because of that, because they don't want to be seen as less masculine, because they don't want to be seen as gay. They're always worried about being seen as gay. And it's the same for when it comes to trans issues as well. They think, well, oh, you know, it's gay for me to get with a trans woman because for some reason fucking women is gay, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but, you know, whatever. It's gay for me to get with a trans woman, so I can't be into that, even though you probably find a variety of trans women attractive. No shame in that. It's also no shame in not finding trans women attractive. I don't find a lot of cis women attractive because they're just not my type. But because of that, it's like, oh, well, you know, I can't be interested in trans women. And a lot of transphobia is born of that as well. And obviously the culture is also very conservative in the alpha male sphere because liberals are seen as soy. So a lot of the anti-trans shit that's very part and parcel to conservative ideology, it just essentially translates over. So it's a lot of stupid bullshit. At its most basic is some shit. And it doesn't have to be that way, and we're trying to make it not that way, and it would be beneficial to literally everybody if it wasn't that way. But it's just a lot of people don't have the understanding of a lot of this stuff to be able to come to those conclusions, to understand that a lot of the things they believe in end up actually hurting them and hurting other people they care about. Basically, all the stereotypes considered less masculine are just things bigots have disliked over the history of relevant culture. I wonder how much of a correlation there is there, because it's all socially constructed. So obviously, a lot of it will be tailored to the people who are driving the culture.
Having high testosterone, would you say it's tied to your guys' ego?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely not. No,
Ha! I don't know, you got pretty fucking defensive. You got pretty defensive about it. I think it absolutely is for a lot of people. There's like literally a whole fucking industry, the manosphere, dedicated to calling people who are less masculine, who are soy boys, as being low T beta males, low testosterone beta males. It's an entire fucking segment of the male population that heavily believes that your testosterone levels are very important when they aren't. And because of that, you want to have more testosterone. You want to be seen as having more testosterone. You want to say you have more testosterone because of assumptions you've made, not because of tests that you've run, you know, blood tests. Because like I say, I think most people haven't gotten their testosterone levels checked, much like most people haven't gotten their chromosomes checked. These are just assumptions we have.
I don't think so. Not
I
at
don't
all.
really think so.
I'd say
But
no.
of course people would say no. It would take a person with less of an ego to admit that it does, right? To be like, oh, no, I'm above it all. That's like an absence of ego, but that's still an ego. You're just pretending to not have an ego. Like, we all have shit that we're egotistical about, and some obviously to greater extents than others. I don't want to directly and like 100% disbelieve people on the panel for saying they don't, but if you're brought onto a panel where you're literally ranking each other by testosterone, and you know enough about the stereotypes to be able to do that, I feel like you've thought about it a little bit, and I feel like it's kind of a part of your personality if you're, you know, a bodybuilder, for instance. It's kind of necessary to know, especially if you're supplementing your testosterone, if you're trying to get bigger. I don't know. It would be shocking to me that all of the people on this panel are like, nah, it's not ego at all, man. It's ego. I don't attach it a lot to my personality, to my lifestyle. Nah, not even Well, not even possible. I don't think so.
To be an alpha male, I feel like it's about dedication, having a driven work ethic. You can have high testosterone, but if you just sleeping all day, doing nothing with your life, then are you really?
But like, don't
So
confuse.
I enjoy that line of thought, and that's similar to what I've been saying. Because the amount of testosterone you have is medically important. It's not important to your actual everyday life. It's all just horoscopes for men. So I definitely agree with that.
like ego with like confidence. Like that's a thing.
I agree.
But that's the thing that like alpha male, like the term alpha male, people get it wrong. I feel like everyone's like, oh, they're egotistical, bro. They only care about themselves. But it's just like you're just confident in who you are. Like you don't need other
I don't know
people
about
around
that.
you.
So it is a lot of overlap between confidence and ego, and people mistake the two. And this does happen a lot with all types of people. But I will bring it back to, opinionated women. A lot of the times, they'll get a lot of shit for saying something very confidently, whether or not they're correct. But even if they're correct very confidently, they'll get a lot of shit for it. They'll be called a bitch. They'll be called egotistical, full of themselves. Obviously, this happens with men too. But I'm just saying there are some gendered aspects to this as well, where, we expect men and masculine people to always have the answers, to always know the information. But, obviously that's not always the case. And also, intelligence is kind of on the downward trend when it comes to associations with masculinity, right? The pencil neck dorks and the 4 eyes is out there, the nerd emojis out there that are more intelligent. Well, what time do you have to go to the gym and get swole if you're reading books all day? There's not really that much of a connection between intelligence and masculinity, but there also kind of is in like the philosopher, warrior, kind of alpha male aesthetic that people like to adopt in the modern day, where a lot of these alpha males pretend to know everything and always be right about everything. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's the way you hold yourself. That's the way I believe it.
How does sex drive play into being an alpha?
Well, it is the sex hormone.
I think it's a big indication.
I think testosterone. Yeah.
It's
I
definitely a big
think
indication of
having a high
testosterone.
libido definitely does play into a factor. Yeah.
If you have high,
Well, it is the case that testosterone is what influences people to have higher libidos, especially in cis men. So, for instance, if you are trans feminine, you can actually see your libido be reduced the more you suppress your testosterone and the more you supplement with estrogen. The supplementing with estrogen part, I don't think is a pivotal part of that. It's just the lack of testosterone, the suppressing of testosterone. So it is true that that does have a part to play. But I don't think that's all of what, determines your libido.
testosterone, you tend to want to, get down a little bit more. So
How many times y'all, a week?
I'm like Captain America.
Like 5 times a day.
I go all day.
He literally said it.
I think I should be up there.
I mean, at least one a day.
I'm gonna put the fifth
That's the standard, 1 a day, like your nightly routine. I'm gonna say a controversial statement. People that jack off in the morning are sociopaths. What are you doing? I can understand like waking up with morning wood, but like if you don't even get out of your bed and you start your day that way, I don't know. That's not for me. I've never liked that. It always feels like it makes my day worse if I start on that foot. You know what I mean? Having it be a nightly routine is a lot better, I think, because it's like we're winding down. Usually, if you're fucking, it's at night anyway, if you got a partner, because that's just like the expectation. And it's good for people to be able to get to sleep too, I think. I don't know how like true scientifically that is, but I mean, that's something I've experienced. I don't know. Like getting a wank in the morning or like midday when the sun's still out, I don't know. I don't know about that.
on this one. I feel like.
But that's just me.
Mom's gonna watch this, bro.
Say hi to Mom.
No, never.
I'm gonna tell you, she knows. She already knows. 1, because it's an expectation, and 2, probably in ways that you don't even know. Like she already knows. Prostate health is important. That is true. Whacking it is good for preventing prostate cancer because it makes your prostate be stimulated. That's true. People who are whacking it less, have more of a problem with that. The reason being, and this might shock some of the cisgender heterosexual men out there, the big burly alpha boys, but your G-spot, the prostate gland, not only does it produce prostatic fluid, which is a part of the concoction that is, the sperm you ejaculate and the pre-cum that lubricates your urethra to allow for the sperm to pass, but it turns out that when you flex your Kegels, when you're doing the damn thing, and like you're feeling those contractions For one, that's to allow for the ejaculation to happen. That's why it comes out in spurts. But that's what's happening that whole time. Every time you masturbate, you're stimulating your prostate. And I know that stimulating a prostate is seen as a gay thing, you know? Because, like, you can do it, obviously, anally, right? Like, you can find it in there. It's kind of like the G-spot, you know, when it comes to fingering a female. It's in the same vicinity. But you can also get it through the taint. You can, like, do a massage on the outside. You could do that, too, and stimulate the prostate that way. And people can actually come that way without even touching the penis, which is a fun party trick. So, I'm just saying, none of you are without sin. Anyway. But it is important to know. That's information you should learn in fucking sex ed. Like, that's what the prostate does. That's what happens. All this kind of stuff. I remember that for the next frat party, yeah.
But when it comes to playing to like testosterone, how many times would you say?
I feel like we haven't heard this motherfucker speak except for once when he said he was a bounty hunter.
Say professional athletes don't have sex like months
Some
before.
people do
their
cut it
thing.
off for that.
And that's the way I see it.
That's BS. That's some gym bro was like making stuff up.
Oh, wait. Oh, this was some dumbass in the chat was saying this. The theory suggested that preserving one's sperm by abstaining from sex or masturbation would somehow keep testosterone high or maybe even increase it. Refraining from ejaculation could boost testosterone and thereby make a man stronger and more aggressive. Pretty sure that's not actually true. Maybe if, like, you chronically masturbate and it's like 7 times daily, you are whacking it daily, you got lotion on your shit daily, all times a day, like that, maybe it might have an influence. But regular, like, once, twice a day masturbation is not going to fuck your testosterone up, my understanding. Fatherhood and marriage decrease it, though? Is that just because of age, or what? Because usually people who are becoming fathers and getting married are tending to get a bit older. No? Is it, like, the paternal aspects of, like, rearing children, or whatever?
That's the way I see it.
That's BS. That's some
Yeah,
gym
that's
bro
some
was
bullshit.
like making stuff up. I mean, like for me personally, out of respect for my partner, I'm not gonna get really into it.
That's the right answer. By the way. You guys bombed that one, bro.
He said partner, too. I think we might have a gay on our hands. I don't know. We might have a bit of a gay. You got a septum ring. We got ear piercings. We're very pretty. I don't know.
Y'all are done.
But I will say, I really think when that tease is going, like the blood's pumping, you're like, I need it.
Touch it.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I'm
You're gonna
touching
feel it.
No matter where you're at in the house.
Yeah.
Bathroom, hey, what's up? Real quick.
Bro, I'm weak.
I'm too big to be doing all that in public, though. I ain't gonna lie. I'm too noticeable.
The question is if it is an alpha to have high libido, well, yeah, you'd rather have high libido than low libido, right? Like, you're gonna have a high sex drive if you are keeping up with everything with yourself, right? But if, you know, we've all had days where you just like, you know, you don't want to even do anything. You get your T levels measured that day, it might not be the optimal.
Are you born an alpha male, or is it something that you can learn to be?
I think you learn from it from watching mentors, watching people that you guys watch on Andrew Tate, say that.
Oh,
Andrew
boy.
Tate, you watch people like that and like, okay. And how do you
Yeah,
carry
that's
yourself
what I
when
want to
bad things
be.
happen?
I want to be the Romanian under investigation and charged with sex trafficking and sex crimes guy. That's the role model that I want. Ay. There are better positive masculine role models out there, okay? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of them. That dude, masculine as hell, nobody would ever say otherwise, and he's pretty positive about it, right? He's pretty nice about it, pretty good about it. But like, oh, Andrew Tate, you know, this fucking chinlet soy boy, you know, closet case, that's the one. Just because he's in your feed all the time. So not really that much
Let's say
anymore.
Something does fall.
Right.
Do you tend to like fall with it?
At
and
least
just
not in my feed. He used to be in a lot more, but now he's kind of fallen off. At least in my social medias, which are tailored to my interests, of course. So.
cry about it, or do you tend to like run through it and actually become the guy that you're supposed to be?
I think being an alpha, like, it's a harness of everything, like your emotions, just everything. So like when people are like, oh, like stop, you know, stop crying, whatever. I'm like, bro, if he's in depth with his emotions and he's able to handle his emotions and he's able to say, okay, it's time to cry, it's time to.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Because I think that's the biggest stigma. especially
Hell
for-
yeah. All right, this is good. We're making moves. We're making positive steps. I like this. This is good. And I've said this for a long time. What is more manly than allowing yourself to cry and not giving a fuck about what anybody else thinks about it? What is more manly than that? Because the expectation for masculine people is that they're not supposed to cry. So if you're subverting that, if you're going your own way when it comes to that, I think that's pretty alpha. And like what he said is like, oh, it's time to cry or it's time to not cry. Because there will be times where you might want to suppress the tears because it might, you know, be beneficial socially or whatever. and, you know, being in touch with your emotions enough to be able to put it off until later and then go have a sad cry in the shower, you know, being in touch with your emotions in that way, having command over your emotions that way, pretty good. That's good for anybody, too. But that's not, like, necessarily masculine. That's just the expectation. That's just a good thing to know how to do. Control your emotions as a human being, no matter who you are, no matter what your hormones are at, right?
Like men, because a lot of men are like, oh, you're a beta because you're crying. It's like, no, bro, like he's feeling something, like maybe he's more emotional, but maybe he's handling his business too. Because sometimes like-
Also, like if you're crying over like powerful, moving, inspirational shit too. Like I can understand like, oh, you fall, scrape your knee and get a boo-boo and you start crying, how that could be like emasculating or whatever. But if like you're watching a piece of media that's like emotionally moving and like you want to stifle a cry because of that, because you're worried you might be seen as less masculine. What does that mean? You're making yourself enjoy media less. You're making yourself enjoy the human experience less if you're doing that. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I can definitely understand the inclination to want to stifle a cry if it's, like, because of sadness or all this kind of stuff, because people don't want to be sad. But if it's because of something that's really positive and uplifting, I don't get it. And I've had that, you know, inclination, too. I've had that, like, pressure to not cry in moments like that, too, and cry around other people. And I've tried to get better about that as I've, you know, gotten older.
My thing is the gym. I feel bad. No matter how I feel in my life, I've been through things where like I was a fat kid, then got heartbroken because of that reason. And then what got me into like the whole controlling my emotions was the gym. If I'm angry, gym. If I'm sad, gym. Get it out of my mind. $350 squat and just squat it out. See how that goes out. No, see how it goes out.
I think that's fine to like have a physical release for your emotions, but it can't be all that you do. That's where the problem comes in. If that's the only thing that you do to manage your emotions, that's going to lead you down bad paths because you need to be able to understand your emotions. You need to be able to have control over your emotions, and you need to do more than simply go to the gym to be able to learn how to do that.
I'll put you over here because you immediately were talking about gym. If you feel bad, you get straight up in the gym lift. I don't do that all the time.
This man down here, though,
yeah.
I don't know if y'all noticed, this man been directing the flow of traffic back there, and he's just playing it cool. He's like, don't look at me. He should be up here.
Well, that's because he's not the alpha male. He's the sigma male. He's the smegma male. He's above the alpha male. That's why he doesn't care if he's seen as an alpha, you know?
It's just the beard. I hear this every day.
Well, that's a sign, bro. That's a
But
sign.
the ladies, like, they love the luscious beard.
Come on
You guys
now.
seen Dictator?
I'll take the end again if you want to. He'll tell you
No,
what.
he is pretty handsome, though. Like, he's got his hair good, kept in a good way. Pretty metrosexual, you know?
I'll take it back again.
Which is, I should say, a bit fruity.
Hey, alpha males don't have, ego. We chilling right now.
Just
It's all
confidence, subtle
respect.
confidence in the back, bro. You're holding it back.
No, I'm
there.
holding it down back
Yeah,
here. I got
you're
it.
killing it.
No, I think this
Okay.
guy, this was the guy I clocked as being highest T, remember? And they have him at lowest. Remember that? Who did I say had the highest? Wasn't I thinking, like, it would be funny if it was this dude? But it was probably these two. One of these two. I think I picked this guy, actually. I don't remember.
I would say, like, who's been on the gear?
The gear.
Who's tried it? Who's done it?
In the
I've been
rear with
approached
the gear.
to do it, but nah, I've never done it.
Okay.
So you guys natty or not? That's the question.
Not.
Not? No.
Natty. You're not natty?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Natty.
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 So like, I don't give a fuck. It's a lot of people out there that are toxic about, like, oh, dudes taking testosterone. Now, obviously, if you're being unsafe with it, it can lead to a lot of negative outcomes, you know, roid rage type shit, all that. But, like, if you're literally just, like, supplementing your testosterone to get it to a level that you want, as a trans person myself, there is no way I could be against that. It wouldn't make any sense. It would not make logical sense for me to be against that. And I don't think it should be seen as a problem in society outside of safety concerns, because testosterone is a very, you know, estrogen is certainly a lot safer to play with when it comes to how your hormones affect your body than testosterone is. It's like, I don't care if you're juicing. Now, of course, if you're saying you're not, and you're very adamant that you're natty, then that's, you know, a bit weird.
Are you still on it?
When was the last time you were on it?
Currently.
Oh.
I'm
you're actually on it
I'm
now?
coming back from back surgery.
Oh, so you're on it now.
You're rehabbing basically.
So I
essentially.
could boost it up. He could be like winning right now. He could be
Yeah,
number
he
one.
could be.
Didn't I say
I
that?
think you can move up.
He's swimming in the team. He might
Yeah.
be.
All right.
That's just
We got-
something that
Didn't I say this?
Who am I?
Just from
am I
looks
bumping
alone.
between y'all in front? All
My
right,
brain
I'm
is
front.
huge.
Just using gear.
Now, that said, it's possible that the regimen he's on from his doctor has him in the standard range, because that would be the expectation. I don't know if there would be a medically necessary reason to have it be higher than average, Maybe if like your body's recovering, you would want more, but I don't know the medical side of that, if that's an accurate assumption or not. I'm just saying words, you know?
Affect your opinion on masculinity or being an alpha?
To me, no. I don't think it does. The way I see an alpha, doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter how you look, honestly. You're not an alpha, you're not a role model in your life and your family. You're not that leadership role, you're not the protector, the provider. That's not alpha.
The only thing I say about that is like, I think it takes a real like dog in there to be like, I'm gonna beat all these unnatty people. I think
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine if that's your motivation. Like, you know, there's people out there that you might still respect that are juicing, and you want to try to do it without it. That's a fine motivator, I think. You just can't let it be toxic, like, oh, I'm better than these people because I didn't, right? That's cringe.
not even giving yourself a chance. And no hate on him. His is medical. Like, I get it. But like, I just think in general, too many people are so beta-ish. Like, they're worried about everyone else, so they're willing to like inject like harmful chemicals into their body.
What do you mean harmful chemicals if you're going through a doctor? Now, of course, a lot of the times, you know, people might not. But like, what do you mean? Would it not also be alpha to, because of all this shit you're talking right now, not give a fuck about anything you're saying and do it anyway because you want to, because you think it's right for you? What do you mean? Like, you're kind of contradicting yourself. Your logic kind of falls apart. Like, why is it the assumption that all the people who are supplementing testosterone, those people are weak and they're doing it because they're weak and they're insecure and self-conscious? Like, you're literally not doing it because you would be insecure and self-conscious if you were doing it. That's what you're telling us. Which is why your motivator is, oh, I want to be natty because I don't want to be like those other people because I think those people are bad or whatever. That's not alpha, brother. I have bad news for you. You're kind of being a bitch.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
My main goal since I've been probably 6 was to be a professional bodybuilder. So
that's how you know he's gay, by the way. We clocked it earlier. That's how you know. We're overcompensating. We're overcompensating right now.
Get there one way or another. I don't really worry about negatives from anybody else. I just do my own thing.
But you know what? I will say I do respect you for being
But he's honest about it
because,
too. That's huge.
because there's a lot of people who acting like they're natural when they're not.
Yeah, that's alpha mentality, bro. He's honest. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What is your guys' definition of alpha male?
I definitely think it's like you are true to yourself and you like have people looking towards you as a role model and you're just independent. Like you don't need other people to help you.
I would just disagree on.
What's with don't need other people to help you? What's the problem with getting help? That's another weird thing about being a man and being masculine that I don't understand. And
it would be alpha, especially if the chemicals were harmful.
That's
flexed
true.
biceps.
Flexed biceps, indeed. That's actually true. You're putting bad shit in your body on purpose to fight it off. Listen, I shoot myself in the thigh with very small caliber bullets, and I slowly increase the caliber. I'm at a 9mm right now. I'm working my way up to 45 ACP so that I can build up an immunity to bullets. But like, what is this idea? And I've had this problem before too, where I've like not wanted to ask people to help. Like, I've always felt myself to be like a lone wolf. This was like way back in like late middle school. So I guess until like even after high school, like I always felt like, oh, my emotions don't affect me. I don't need help from anybody. And a lot of this is like socially constructed because like I was alone a lot of my life. Like I was just on the computer all the time. I was always doing my own thing. I was always like, I wouldn't say I was happy at times, obviously, but like I had depression at the time, ADHD shit that I wasn't really paying attention to because of all this. Oh, I don't need to care about my emotions bullshit. And also, you know, I've been poor my whole life, so investing in a good PC and just being on that is a good ass investment if you're not trying to spend a lot of money and get a lot of value, a lot of bang for your buck. Getting a nice PC, investing in that is one good way to do that. It does keep you in the house more though. Also, never really had a lot of friends. I never really went to parents for help. I never went to like teachers for help. And all of that is because of that kind of expectation that I had about myself. Well, that's what it means to be the person I am, which at the time I thought, you know, I'm trying to be a man here. But that's not the case. Like, I don't know what would be more alpha or masculine than acknowledging that somebody else's help would be beneficial in a scenario and then looking for some hard dudes to help you out or whatever, right? Like, you're building a bridge. You want to do that alone, or you want to get some fucking cool guys, some bros around and have a good time and build a bridge with them, make some friends, right? Like, what's the point of being alpha if you're alone? Isn't the entire point of being an alpha the fact that it is a direct comparison to people that are not alphas, and therefore is inherently a social thing, a social classification, and therefore would require you to be around other people how could you be an alpha if you're alone all the time? I don't get it.
I think an alpha male, takes everybody's opinions and feelings into consideration.
Yeah.
This guy's been pretty cool, all things considered, about this entire conversation. I think this guy too.
Move, where do you want me to
Bump
go?
down one.
I think that's switch. You know what? Let's
No, it's
just
fine.
put you at the no.
They had him all the way at the front because of all that shit he was talking earlier. Because these betas capitulated to his attempts at being alpha and talking a lot of shit. They put him all the way up front, and now they're bringing him back after, more and more shit. The back and forth movement in the line is so random. Yeah, because it's all bullshit. Because it's horoscopes for men. It doesn't mean anything. That's why everybody's in different positions. Like, you go back in the video 5 minutes, they're in a completely different arrangement. You go forward another 5 minutes, they're in a different arrangement.
Okay, I'll stay back here. I'll move up later. They were dogging on me for a second. They said you can have people help you, which I think is, I guess you can have people help you if they help you along the way.
You could tell this motherfucker's a finance bro, too. This is a crypto bro. The way he's talking, dude. Holy shit. He's talking about earlier, I got 10K. I immediately put it into bonds, and I got investment. Fucking Sam Bankman fraud type beat.
But I really feel like it's independent and being true to yourself. And you don't need other people's. So yeah.
Like that.
All right, let's do the test. Let's go.
I'm gonna have Percy come to the back because we don't have his results.
What?
So when we get his results, we will do
Oh,
a
okay, they're gonna tell
follow-up
us
call
later.
where we will do the final reveal because we'll have the final ranking.
So not applicable.
So in the 5th spot, Adam.
Imagine remembering any of their names. But also, imagine my shock. This motherfucker's been the loudest motherfucker this entire time. All this shit to say about all this masculinity, that, alpha this. Nope. Meanwhile, this dude's been pretty positive about it and silent, like not talking a whole lot.
In the 4th spot, Drew.
Nice, they got it.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, no, they didn't get it because he was at the back, but this dude's at the back because they don't have the test.
Okay.
3rd, Sam.
Perfect. I'm just a normal guy.
2nd, Michael. And 1st, Garen.
I was right! God damn, how good am I all the time? I knew it too. Just strictly off of dad energy alone. But also, he's apparently, we found out later, taking it to recover from surgery or something. Also, I will say, so I don't know if they're going to give us the exact numerical value of like PGML or whatever the fuck it is. But I said earlier that I did get a testosterone test and an estrogen test done before I got on feminizing HRT. And I always thought I had lower T because, I'm shorter, I'm 5'4", I don't have like that wide of a build or that big of a build. I don't have a lot of body hair, I never have. Like, this is my arm, I don't shave. My hair is light because I got brown hair, so like my body hair is lighter. But I don't grow that much hair. Like my legs right now, I don't shave, and you can't see any of the hair unless you look really closely. Because it's sparse and it's very light, and I like that, thank God. My dad, on the other hand, is very hairy, so I thought that I might be. Turns out, no. So I always thought I was low T, but like I do have like the deeper voice and all that. I got a more masculine facial structure and all this kind of stuff. But like, turns out I don't have low T. I was in the middle of the standard range at like 420 something. I could look it up. And this is why I would like to see their like actual numerical value, because I think that would be cool. So let's see, my first ever testosterone test. 477 ng/dl. Okay, there you go. Nanograms per deciliter, I assume. The standard range, it says, is 264 to 916, right? So like I'm pretty much in the middle of the standard range, or maybe a little on the lower end, or like a little lower in the middle. Like, but still in the middle. And obviously now it's not that. Because like I want to be able to rank myself at least before HRT. So hopefully we get the numbers.
That was good.
But we might not.
Let's go down the line.
Oh, let's thank God.
And say
Thank
your
God.
numbers.
329.
329? Bro, I had before HRT more T than this motherfucker. Apparently the average is 679, so a little bit below average for medicinenet.com. 529.
529.
546.
725.
725?
2,182.
Ha! That's because he's fucking on the juice, recovering from a surgery. It's not supposed to be that high. So like, no, I wasn't high T. I'm just like in the middle.
All right, yeah, okay, that's yeah.
Okay.
Are you
My bad,
kidding?
actually.
This 725 natural is pretty high though.
Bro, what? I didn't know levels go. Wow.
2,000?
This is a Dragon Ball Z moment, bro.
But you can get that too. Like if I was to do my estrogen injection and like get a blood test the next day, my estrogen levels would be through the roof, but it's like a precipitous drop until the next one, right? So like he could be really close to his most recent injection. And if they did the test right before his next injection, he'd probably be a lot lower.
Now that a little bit of time has passed, where do you think Percy's gonna fall?
My man is gonna be number 2.
I'll go at number 3.
Let's do the final ranking order. In 6th was Adam with 329.
Damn.
In 5th, Percy with 517.
There you go.
4th, Drew with 529. 3rd, Sam with 546. 2nd, Michael 725, and 1st, Garen 2,182. So, Percy, how are you feeling knowing your ranking order?
You know what? This was a battle of just minuscule points here, because you know, from my ranking to Sam's, we're all like pretty close. I'm not too shocked. Right now, I am trying to get myself back in shape. You know, I've been eating like crap, so that probably did play a big part in it. But I'm a humble man. That's why I have on the sunglasses, because
Makes you hungrier too.
I want to show the tears that's starting to stream down my face.
So this is the original ranking. They were not that accurate. They were close though, except for this. Wait, so what did I say? I said 1? What I said for 6? I don't remember. I think I was close.
So has this experiment changed anyone's thoughts on their relationship between testosterone levels and being an alpha male?
Y'all are it's not okay. Yeah, no, okay, no, of course not.
I never really associated the two. There's so many factors that like
Because you can
literally
manipulate T
deal with
levels.
testosterone.
The test don't make the man. The man makes the test.
That's true.
I don't know.
Actually true. You know? Unless you're supplementing it. But then you're still injecting it. So like you're playing a part.
I actually like that though. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of like that.
Well, that was the video. That was fun. About an hour and a half. These tests would have to be a rolling average to say anything about someone's normal levels. Yeah, because like your hormone levels are always in flux. They're always shifting. It's just horoscopes for men, like I said. Anyway, enough.